From Caesar's Legion showing up in all their twisted glory, to Cooper Howard's old cowboy movies playing at a decaying drive-in, the Fallout TV series is absolutely stuffed with references that'll make any vault dweller lose their mind. Let's start with one of the most emotional callbacks in the entire show, and honestly one of my personal favorites too. Remember that heartbreaking moment in episode 2 of season 2 when young Maximus gets shoved into a fridge by his parents right before Shady Sands gets nuked? That whole sequence is a reference to the infamous Kid in a Fridge quest from Fallout 4, which itself was nodding to that ridiculous Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull scene. In the game, you literally find a kid named Billy who survived the nuclear apocalypse by hiding in a refrigerator for 200 years, somehow still alive as a ghoul. Speaking of codes and secrets, did you catch what Hank punches into the terminal for the water chip? The code is 101N97, which just happens to be October 10th, 1997, the exact release date of the very first Fallout game. That's the kind of deep-cut reference that makes you want to rewind and pause just to make sure you saw it right. The water chip itself is already a massive callback, since the entire plot of Fallout 1 revolves around your vault's water chip breaking, and you having to venture into the wasteland to find a replacement. So adding in that release date code is just perfection. Now let's talk about Mr. House, because holy hell did they nail that character. Justin Theroux plays the pre-war version of Robert House with this perfect blend of genius and sociopath energy that feels ripped straight from New Vegas. In that game, you only ever see House as this ancient, barely alive body hooked up to machines, speaking through his Securatron robot. But in the show, we get to see him walking around in the flesh before the bombs drop, conducting horrific experiment with those black box mind control chips. The way he casually murders people to test his technology is exactly the kind of ruthless pragmatism that defined his character in the game. And that whole opening sequence in the bar during the automation riot, that's pulling from deep lore about how Robco Industry and House were replacing workers with robots, which was causing massive civil unrest before the war even started. The show also brings us to Novak, and oh man, Dinky the T-Rex looks perfect. In Fallout New Vegas, Novak is this quirky little Route 66 town built around a giant dinosaur statue, and the name comes from the no vacancy sign at the motel, with only those letters lit up. The show recreates it beautifully, right down to Lucy setting up her sniper position inside Dinky's mouth, which is exactly where you find Boone keeping watch in the game. Seeing the great Khans gathered there was a treat too. In New Vegas, the Khans are this fascinating raider tribe with a mix of biker gang and Native American aesthetics, dealing drugs and trying to survive in a wasteland where everyone wants them dead. The show leans more into the biker gang side visually, but their flag is game accurate, and their whole attitude feels right. Can we talk about Caesar's Legion for a second? Because wow, they did not hold back on showing how absolutely brutal and horrible that faction is. In New Vegas, the Legion are these Roman cosplaying slavers who crucify people and treat women as property, and the show doesn't sugarcoat any of that. When Lucy gets dragged into their camp and sees all the torture and slavery happening, that's exactly what wandering into Legion territory feels like in the game. You're just surrounded by cruelty and this twisted ideology that Caesar built. And that whole storyline about two different Caesars fighting over who's the rightful successor, that's a brilliant extrapolation of what might happen after Caesar's death in the game. Macaulay Culkin playing the Legate is inspired casting too. And the fact that he pronounces Caesar as Kaisar in the classical Latin way is a detail pulled straight from the game, where Legion members use that pronunciation to show their dedication to Caesar's vision. The NCR showing up in such a diminished state is fascinating from a lore perspective. In New Vegas, the new California Republic is this massive democratic nation state trying to expand eastward and bring civilization to the wasteland. They're flawed and bureaucratic, and sometimes imperialist, but they represent humanity's best shot at rebuilding actual society. Seeing them reduced to just a handful of rangers hiding in the hills around Vegas is genuinely sad, especially knowing what they used to be. The show's depiction of Shady Sands getting nuked is controversial among fans, but it does explain why the NCR has fallen so far. And those ranger outfits, game accurate down to the duster and the breathing mask, looking just like the iconic armor from the new Vegas box art. The Brotherhood of Steel continues to be a hot mess across both coasts, which honestly tracks with the game. Quintus leading this weird religious cult version of the Brotherhood in Los Angeles is a departure from what we usually see, but the show explains that the Western chapters have all fractured and developed their own ideologies. The whole discussion about Elder Maxon's original rebellion and founding of the Brotherhood is lifted straight from Fallout lore. Roger Maxon really did mutiny against the army after discovering the horrific FEV experiments at Mariposa military base, and that's where the Brotherhood began. Seeing them argue about whether Maxon's rebellion justifies their own civil war is exactly the kind of ideological split that's troubled the Brotherhood throughout the game. Area 51 showing up as a massive pre-war military installation full of alien corpses and advanced technology is perfect. Aliens are absolutely canon in Fallout lore, as anyone who played the Mothership Zeta DLC for Fallout 3 can tell you. The Zetans have been abducting humans and conducting experiments for centuries, and finding a frozen alien at Area 51 makes total sense in this universe. The Brotherhood claiming it as their new base and using it to manufacture fusion cores is a smart move tactically, even if Quintus is clearly going off the deep end with his plan. And speaking of weapons, that super sledge that Harkness lends to Maximus is gorgeous. In the games, the super sledge is this rocket-powered hammer that's usually one of the best melee weapons you can find, and seeing it in action on screen is so satisfying. Maximus straight up one-shotting a Brotherhood paladin with it is a little video game logic bleeding into the show, but in the best way possible. That's exactly how it feels when you finally get your hands on a super sledge in Fallout 4 and start turning super mutants into paste. The Securatrons throughout Season 2 are handled really well too. Victor showing up all glitchy and broken, but still recognizable, is a nice touch. And the fact that they're using the upgraded military faces instead of the police faces suggests that someone managed to complete Mr. House's software update from the game. In New Vegas, upgrading the Securatrons is a crucial part of House's ending, making his robot army significantly more deadly. Seeing those upgraded models scattered around the wasteland implies that House's plan did move forward to some degree, even if he's supposedly gone. Let's talk about all those little consumables and items that make the world charge feel authentic. Lucy getting addicted to Buffout is pulled straight from the game's chem system. Buffout boosts your strength and endurance in-game, but get hooked on it, and you'll suffer withdrawal penalties until you take more or use Edictol to kick the habit. Watching Lucy go through those same addiction mechanics on screen, getting twitchy and paranoid as she needs her next hit, translates the game system into actual character drama. And those stim packs everyone's constantly using, they look exactly like the syringes from the games, right down to the distinctive shape and the way they instantly heal wounds in that semi-magical Fallout way. The food and drink scattered throughout the show is like a greatest hits compilation for anyone who's spent hours looting abandoned buildings. Nuka-Cola everywhere, of course, because it's basically the mascot of the franchise, but also Sunset Sarsaparilla bottles, which were New Vegas's regional soda competitor. Pram, Sugar Bombs, Fancy Lads, Snack Cakes, Blamco Mac and Cheese. These are all foods you'd be picking up and eating in the games to restore health. Seeing them as actual props instead of just inventory icons makes them feel more real. And that whole bottle cap economy translating to screen. Perfect. In the show's wasteland, caps are currency, just like in the game. And watching characters count out caps to buy things, or seeing vendors demand payment in bottle caps, keeps the essential Fallout feel. The feral ghouls are horrifying, which is exactly right. In the game, feral ghouls are humans who've been so degraded by radiation and time that they've lost their minds and become aggressive monsters. Regular ghouls like Cooper can maintain their sanity if they stay dosed with their anti-feral medication. But once you go feral, there's no coming back. Seeing the kings in Vegas all turned feral is genuinely sad. When you know that in New Vegas, they were this charming gang of Elvis impersonators trying to protect their community. The king himself showing up as a feral ghoul wearing his signature outfit is an emotional experience for anyone who loved that faction. The death claws in that Alaska flashback are absolutely terrifying, and the show correctly establishes that they were pre-war bioengineered weapons, not post-apocalypse mutations. In the games, death claws are consistently the scariest regular enemy you can encounter, capable of shredding you even in power armor if you're not prepared. Seeing one in live action really shows how horrifying it would be to actually face one of these things. That whole Alaska sequence is referencing Operation Anchorage from Fallout 3, though the show's version is obviously the real battle, not the virtual reality simulation you play through in the DLC. The power armor throughout the show is immaculate. They're using T-60 suits, which is the Brotherhood standard in Fallout 4, and the way they move and sound and take damage feels authentic to how power armor works in the games. The heads-up display we see from inside the helmet matches the game's HUD when you're wearing power armor. The fusion cores powering them, the way they have to be stored in maintenance frames, the massive footprints they leave, all of it tracks with the game mechanics. And that Brotherhood airship, the Keswinin, it's clearly modeled after the Prydwen from Fallout 4, this massive Zeppelin fortress that serves as their mobile base of operations. Vault 24 being a Vault-Tec brainwashing experiment is such a perfect dystopian twist. Every numbered vault in Fallout lore was designed as a twisted social experiment, and the show has referenced tons of them. Vault 27 was overcrowded. Vault 87 created super mutants through FEV exposure. Vault 106 pumped hallucinogens into the air supply. Vault 24 turning Americans into communist sleeper agents using those black box mind control chips is exactly the kind of horrific experiment Vault-Tec would run. The fact that it was cut, content from New Vegas, that never made it into the actual game makes it an even deeper pull for hardcore fans who dig through game files. The music choices are phenomenal too. Orange Colored Sky by Nat King Cole, I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire by the Ink Spots, Into Each Life Some Rain Must Fall. These songs are associated with Fallout at this point. They were in the games first, playing on the radio stations you could tune into while exploring the wasteland, and hearing them in the show creates this instant atmospheric connection. The Ink Spots especially feel like Fallout's unofficial house band, with their songs appearing in basically every game since Fallout 3. And when Ramin Djawadi's score kicks in with themes inspired by Inanzur's game soundtracks, it all just clicks into place. Those little details scattered everywhere show how much care went into this adaptation. Vault Boy, bobbleheads on shelves, Tesla Science magazines lying around, Abraxo cleaner in the Super Duper Mart, Big Boss cigarettes, the special posters on vault walls. These are the props and set dressing that make Fallout's world recognizable. You could pause on almost any frame and spot something from the games. Even stuff like the junk jet being used as a weapon, or that minigun tearing up a vintage car, or Lucy upgrading from her clean vault suit to wasteland armor. It's all pulling from game mechanics and translating them to screen in ways that make sense. The show also nails the darker comedy that's important to Fallout's tone. The Whack-A-Commie arcade game showing up at that Veterans event is perfect. It's a real game from Fallout 4, where you whack squirrels dressed as Chinese soldiers, and it's exactly the kind of propaganda as entertainment that the pre-war Fallout America would produce. It's awesome how Janie playing the game, Right as Cooper talks about maybe taking out Robert House, totally nails that sweet spot. Fallout always hits. Super serious stuff, mixed with some hilariously absurd satire. The show understands that Fallout's also about the small details. Getting all of that right matters just as much as nailing the major plot points and character dynamics. And from everything we've seen across 2 seasons, the Fallout show absolutely gets it. Here's hoping they keep digging into the game's deep lore and bringing more of that world to life as the series continues, because there's still so much more to explore.